Hello and welcome to Mirror Realm. My name's Nick, known as YBEN on Discord servers, but I've already changed that around to just be Nick on the Discord servers, so just for people to know. I met quite a few people in real life when we were in Melbourne, and they're just going to go by Nick going forwards. I've got Jarrod here with me as well.
Hello.
And we're going to be going through the recent rules changes article from what is going to hopefully just be within the past couple of days by the time I manage to get this video on YouTube.
Yesterday for us, as of recording.
Yeah. Yesterday for us when we were talking about this, and hopefully we'll get it on YouTube within the next day or so. Right, so before we just jump into it, we obviously haven't done a video for a long time. I don't even know how long it is. It's somewhere, I think it's more than 2 months. Somewhere between 2 and 3. That's really just because we were preparing for the Crossroads in Melbourne, and all the sort of sorcery time, if you want to frame it that way, that we had was just purely sunk into preparing for that, and also running the events where we are. So really, it's a bit of a weird one that the reason we didn't create content is because we were more into sorcery than normal, rather than sort of what would normally, I guess, you would think would be the case, is because we sort of were less into sorcery. Apologies for that, but we're back into it. Obviously, that event wasn't even that recent anymore. When was it even? Was it early October? I can't even remember. Mid-October?
But it was at least a month ago.
Yeah, so that was like a month ago. So obviously, there's still been a month, but for me personally, I decided to play in the online league at the last minute after we got back from Melbourne, and then there was only like one or less than 2 weeks left in that. So I ended up playing that and needing to play a bunch of tiebreaker games to make the top cut, which I did, and ended up making the semi-finals in that. So that process ended up taking basically the past month to get to that point. So again, all the time that I had was spent either playing the matches leading into the top cut and then preparing, just sort of whatever spare time I had was preparing for matches in the top cut. And thanks, Jarrod, for helping me out with that preparation.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So
and it was October 8th and 9th was the Crossroads. So
yeah.
Almost 2 months ago.
So yeah, I think that, well, I only lost in the online league semi-final like a week ago or so. So I think the online league must have basically taken the 5 weeks effectively. I think that sounds about right. So sort of 2 weeks before the top cut started, and then the top cut was running for about 3 weeks or so before I got knocked out. I think that loosely all lines up. Congratulations to you for winning the Crossroads in Melbourne.
Thank you, and congratulations to you for coming third, getting the avatar.
Yep, we both got the now not so useful rainbow foil druids, as it turns out. We played the same deck in Melbourne, and yeah, that's just, I mean, I don't know if we deliberately set out to always play the same. We have played the same deck the last few tournaments. It's possible we might play different decks again in a tournament, but it's definitely...
We almost did with this one, but I convinced you by forcing you to tell me why you wanted to play another deck, and you couldn't work out a reason outside of, I just like this deck.
Well, I did really like it, that is true. Yeah, it's definitely more efficient from a testing and preparation perspective if we're playing the same deck, because all the testing we do, we basically get to sort of test with the deck into various matchups, and it's definitely way more efficient from a preparation perspective, which did feel pretty important this time because we did have less time to prepare, quite a bit less time than other times. So yeah, so we ended up playing Mono Water Druid, and really just sort of leaning into the power of swap, and yeah, like it was as I think I was the one undefeated person after the Swiss. You only lost.
My only loss was in the draft anyway,
and you won the.
Our only loss with the actual constructed deck was you losing to Davide, and I beat Davide in the finals. So overall, in constructed, it was X1, and the X was 4, 8, 11, 13 and 1
Yeah.
with the deck between the two of us.
And even feel like it's possible that I did. Don't want to delve too much into that, but the match that I played against Davide, I feel like
think you could have won it.
Could have won
overall.
it, maybe. It's
I
hard to
only
know
came
that
in
for
about
sure.
halfway through the match, so it'd be hard to tell how it progressed to that point, whether or not things could have been different.
You
But from
certainly
what
top decked
I
and
saw,
infiltrated
it
at the
was
right time.
yes, definitely. But it was an extremely complicated board state when I walked over, and it was like about 30 permanents in play, sort of thing. So it was pretty tricky to definitely navigate correctly.
So for Davide's perspective, I think the big miss, there would have been many suboptimal, like less than perfect plays I did for sure. Like the PA system was just booming, like with all the information for an event that was like literally at the opposite side of the store, and it was like really loud, like really like if you didn't hold your ears, it would like make your inner sort of eardrums vibrate, kind of like you're at some kind of heavy metal rock concert or something type of loud, like right next to us. And that was like really difficult to concentrate because of that. And then there was a few other, let's say, sort of ongoing, like pretty significant distractions. So it's just for a very complicated board state. It was really hard to concentrate, and not just for me, right? For everybody. That's the thing. Quite a lot of people in the top 8 sort of were making big misplays.
Yeah, every single person in the top 8 I talked to, including myself, we all made misplays based around that PA system going off in while we were trying to work out a crucial turn.
But for me, the big crucial, I mean, I'm sure I made multiple mistakes against Davide, but for Davide's perspective, like for his knowledge, I guess, because I'm sure he remembers the game somewhat, I think the misplay, because I played an Atlantean Fate, and I was sort of iterating through where it should be played in regards to the board state of all the minions on the board. But there's a couple of things that we always do when we play Atlantean Fate, and one of them is to iterate through the thresholds, how you can cripple the thresholds of the opponent. And I just never got to the point where I even finished looking at the analysis of the sort of board state for the minions, because they're, it was like, I don't know how many tokens and minions and things on the board, but you're like way over 20, like it was over 20 type of thing. So
it was somewhere in the 20 to 30 range for sure.
So it's very complicated, and I just was under time duress and just ended up having to play it. And I think the misplay effectively was that I could have taken Davide off all of his Earth thresholds.
Yeah, while also still taking out some amount of his minions, whereas it would have been suboptimal on the minion side, but not by so much that taking him off of Earth completely.
That was a big deal because he proceeded to double guards after that, and then Divine Healing as well. So if you had have slowed down that double guards and potentially nulled that Divine Healing altogether, it could have been maybe I win, maybe I don't. But it was certainly the misplay that I had that I still hold with me to this day. Let's say, it's still with me, and I still the benefit of that type of misplay is, well, I don't know if it's a benefit as such, but probably going forwards, I'll flip the analysis on any Atlantean Fate where I start with the thresholds, because that calculation is really easy, and then do the other calculations afterwards. I mean, to be honest, I would have got there in a reasonable sort of time frame if it wasn't for all of the really significant constant distractions. But so I'm not sure, but it's just how I'd always done it to calculate it. But going forwards, I'll definitely work the thresholds out first. But I will definitely acknowledge that even if I played that correctly, it's totally plausible I still lose that game anyway. But it was definitely like a death knell type moment, that misplay. So yeah. So I guess it's really just that did lose one game, but potentially that, well, I guess it would have been one regardless, right? Because even if I had beaten Davide, we would have played each other in the final. And one of us would have lost. So
one loss at some point.
You're guaranteed to have lost at least one regardless. So, yeah. But the tournament, it was a pretty enjoyable experience. I think overall that tournament felt pretty good. I was... this PA system, for whatever it was in the top cut, it didn't exist the day before in the Swiss. So I was very locked in through the whole Swiss. Like really locked in, concentrating hard. I feel like I'd played as close to perfect as I've ever played over a full day like that. And I think the first round, I maybe did a couple of things that were not great, but not that type of error that I made against Arvide. Just a couple of slight suboptimal things. And then I feel like the whole rest of the day, it's possible I did something very close to perfect play, which I don't think I've ever really done over like in a stretch so extended, because that would have been like 7 hours or something, right? Straight? Something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there, maybe even a little bit longer.
So yeah, that felt pretty good for me, just because I think it feels like you're a little bit more able to like really fully lock in for
the whole thing. Yeah,
longer periods than me. Like, I don't know, it's not.
I mean, it'd probably have like, because I used to go on like Magic Online for like 40 hours straight, like play sessions, sort of that. So it's I can sort of do that lock in, and I used to do the like where you play like multiple tournaments at the same time, sort of thing. So maybe it's just a bit more of the mental conditioning for the much longer events.
I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one for me, because it's like I also didn't sleep well, but we also travelled up, as in my wife and myself. We travelled up, we sort of made a holiday of it. And
that's the trick for me. I've got I never sleep well, so not sleeping well before a tournament doesn't matter.
Yeah, but where I was going with that though is normally we just go right and then I sleep bad, but the difference in this time was that I had slept bad for the whole week leading up to it. I had basically barely slept for a whole week, and maybe that was a benefit in the end, because like I was getting
trained your body
into knowing that
it wasn't going to
get any. Adapted to sort of functioning without any sleep at all. Whereas normally when we go, we sort of lob up the day before, have a terrible sleep, wake up off the back of like feeling horrible. So maybe there's something in there. Maybe I need to sort of just be forcefully sleep deprived for a whole week, and then you go better. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to try that, to be honest, on purpose.
It's definitely a risky thing to try on purpose.
So, but yeah, it was good. We met a lot of people. Quite a few people came up to each of us independently, right, just about the YouTube stuff, which was good.
Yeah, it was really nice to hear some really positive feedback from everybody. Everybody seems to really enjoy it, so definitely makes it easier to keep going, that's for sure.
There were a couple of people in particular that it was more like definitely like a real, more like a, I don't know, like a depth of gratitude type thanks. Like they could really helping them out, and they listened to everything. And I think there was even a couple that had a massive drive from like over sort of 20 hours type of thing. Drive, yeah. And they listened to our videos the whole way. So that's good to know. Obviously not for everybody what we do, but at least we know that it's for somebody. So that's good. But yeah, it was, I think that's just part of that. Just, I don't know, because we were there because the tournament was midweek, right? And then
Wednesday,
there was PAX Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, so we were there from Tuesday evening to Sunday evening, basically. And then it was like all day, all night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all day Sunday, basically just playing Sorcery and talking to people about Sorcery and nothing else, pretty much, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So a lot of those, spent many, many hours just talking to people, many separate individuals I would have had a conversation, individual conversations with, that's each individually spanned multiple hours, and really got to know a lot of new people, which was really good. I don't think I've ever really had I'm not exactly a socialite, not antisocial as such, but just not a socialite. So,
well, I think PAX probably helped with that quite a lot, right? Because it was more of like a just rock up and wasn't really anything to do outside of just have chats or whatever. Whereas normally we would go over, and if it's we'd plan all day, so that takes out a massive portion of the getting to know people time, and then it's just maybe we all go out for dinner on one of the nights, and that's about it, sort of thing. Whereas this was like a real solid, like an event length's worth of just hanging out, which makes it quite a lot easier to just get the chats in.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, partially because you have the time, and partially because there wasn't. Obviously, you could look around PAX or whatever, but on the most part, I sort of had somewhere between 0 or a very limited amount of interest in anything that was there aside from Sorcery. So it was had a quick look around everything, but that was sort of something you could do for an hour or two, and you were there for 3 days, kind of thing. So
yep.
So pretty much just spent the rest of the time.
And the only reason the main reason we were mostly going was just for the opportunity to pick up Dragon Lords.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have gone to. Yeah, I mean, that was the main reason in the end to go for the 3 days. I think I definitely would have gone for 1 day regardless. But yeah, that definitely sort of spanned into the the opportunity to get them combined with the difficulty to get them kind of thing. In like there was the opportunity to get them, and it was the only opportunity for us to be able to basically ever get them again, probably. So that definitely played into it.
I think without those, I probably wouldn't have gone. But I did enjoy being there, getting to talk to everybody, but also particularly like the artists, like Brian and Lindsay. They were great to have chats with and got that. So it was a good way to force me to go to something that I had no interest in going to. That's for sure.
Yeah, and had pretty extended. I think between you're talking hours between the two of them as well over the days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking to them, so that was really good as well. Got a whole bunch of altars. Maybe I'll flash on this video. We got a whole bunch of altars done from Brian as well. I'll put a picture of those on this video. So that was really good. Also spoke with at length to multiple people in the Sorcery
on the team,
the Eric's Curiosa team. So that was good, really good as well. So it was just like a lot of chatting, a lot of socializing, and just it's just a bit. It's not that you actively avoid it, but it's not something that we actively sort of, like you're saying, right? Like you normally wouldn't have gone to that.
Normally, you just don't have the time to get all these, good interactions in over the course of an event when you're playing the whole time. So that was a very, very nice change.
Yep, I'm not sure that still puts me at a preference that all the big tournaments in Australia should be done midweek going forwards. I'm not entirely sold on that as a concept at all. It felt like it really didn't work for a lot of people. And it was a bit sad that was the case. So like it was very, as far as I know, that we are the only Crossroads that has existed to date that was run in the middle of midweek instead of on a weekend.
It's the only tournament in any gaming I've done in the last 20 plus years that's been run in the middle of a week.
Yeah, so that was just very weird.
Played a lot of events.
I think a lot of people have sort of voiced feedback about that or whatever. So I mean, I'm sure they're aware that a lot of people are unhappy. I don't know what they'll do going forwards, but definitely we fall into the camp that obviously we went, but it certainly would have been more convenient and much easier for us to be able to go if it was on a weekend. And also, where we are, more people from our local community would have gone if it was on a weekend. I think the main thing really is just 100% more people would have played in that event if it had been. I mean, how could it not, right? Like, how could it not have been the case that more people would have played if it was on a weekend? Like, of course it would have been. I think if you take any of these major sorcery events or conventions or all of these Sorcery Con and all of this stuff and all of these other Crossroads and whatever events have happened for sorcery, if you had said, would there have been more or less people if you had run it on a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or whatever instead of over the weekend? Like, there's no way that you could convince me that running it midweek isn't of detriment to attendance to stuff like this, pretty much.
Well, I mean, us personally, we knew like at least 10 more people that would have been there if it was on a weekend. And there was people there that even on the Thursday, because they ran us sealed for people who weren't in the top 8, there were people there on the Thursday who couldn't show up on the Wednesday to play in the Crossroads. Like that's how much of an issue it was, even just trying to get the 2 days in the middle of the week off. And they all said that they would have been there if it was just like for the Crossroads, if it was a weekend thing. So.
And I met multiple people at PAX as well, just from all this talking that we did. Multiple people that went to that, but they couldn't go to the Crossroads midweek as well. Like it's just like, of course it's the case. It's like middle of the day, not even school holiday or anything, mind you. So
it was U12 exams week.
Yeah, which for people,
but even a lot of people who were high school students definitely had no chance of showing up, even if they could convince their parents to give them a day off school.
Yeah, well, obviously you can't when it's... So for the benefit of those who aren't from Australia, that's basically the final year of high school, like the year of school before you go to university, the exams that determine your sort of entrance score for university. Those exams were during the week that the tournament was run. So it's just... That's a shame. So we know... Like, it was just very odd, let's say. And there was reasons for it, but at the end of the day, obviously, things like this are always done for reasons, but there's just no version of this that it didn't negatively impact attendance, and I think extremely significantly so. That's the thing. I don't think you're talking like we know between us, like you said, 10 or so people, right? Personally, and then also met multiple other people whilst we were there on top of that. It's in the realms of possibility, I think, that the attendance could have been near double what it was.
Yeah, I think it would have been somewhere around maybe 90, like high 90s, low 100s. I think it would have been somewhere around that range.
So, that's a massive difference. And that would have put it more basically in line with
all the other
Crossroads attendance, right? That also will run on weekends and not in the middle of the week. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure there's anything much more really on that one. But, yeah, it was a very good time. It sort of forced us to let's say, like you're saying, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, talking to people and stuff, wouldn't have happened if it had been on a weekend like that, because we wouldn't have been there for all those extra days. But yeah, I just think on the whole, a lot of people who wanted to play couldn't, and they're basically being excluded. And you're talking about a lot of people here, and on the whole, I just don't think that's very, like, you've given a lot of people like a very negative feel, like a negative experience, right? Whereas if you have someone who would have loved to have played in something like that, but couldn't because they had their Year 12 exams that week, like, that's just not good. That's, like, really bad for them. And there's a lot of people that are in that situation for all sorts of different reasons.
I mean, even if you want to play and you're just working, right? Like, it's not easy to get 2 days off in the middle of the week for a lot of people who are working. And it's also a big cost, right? To just sacrifice 2 days of work for a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's people who live locally, by the way. When it's in the middle of the week like that, for us, for example, you're not talking about taking 2 days off work. You're talking about taking the whole week off, realistically.
Yep.
And you could say, well, you could have worked Monday or whatever, so you didn't have to take the Monday off. But where we're from, Monday was a public holiday.
Yeah, well, even my work week is like Wednesday to Sunday, so it was literally a whole week for me.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. People work different. Like, so you realistically, there was... Monday was a non-issue here because it was whatever. So you realistically, you pretty much had to take the Tuesday off work, or at least half of it off, to fly out Tuesday, and then you were there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Like, at that point, like, does it even... Yes, you could make your life way more difficult than it needs to be to work half of a Tuesday in the whole week.
Yeah. Potentially,
right? Like, of course you're taking the whole week off, and... yeah, that's really difficult to do for a lot of people. Yeah, whatever. It's a choice at the end of the day, but
and we're in a bit of a different boat with the sacrifice of taking a week off, because we're going in there under the assumption that we probably do pretty well. We're at least going to top 8 is the aim. My aim was always to win every event I play in, so that's Whereas you got the people who they want to play, but they're mostly just going there because they just want to enjoy the tournament itself, even if they don't expect that they're going to do very well, right? Like, that's a big sacrifice to say, I'm going to sacrifice 2 days worth of pay, even if you're local, right? Sacrifice 2 days worth of pay just for the good times. It starts getting a bit, say you have a family or whatever, like, you probably can't just sacrifice that. Whereas, you might have just had a free weekend that, you can take the time out to do that sort of thing. So it's a very awkward situation for a lot of people.
I think it's just better for all sorts of reasons if that attendance is closer to 100 than it is closer to 50, like it was. Like, it's better. Yeah. It's better for the community. It's better for the extra 50 people that got to play. It's better, like, for the perception, right, for how popular the game is, and it's better for, like, I really hope that we get to have another one in Australia, and I really hope that it's on a weekend, and I can guarantee you that if we do, and it is, there'll be more people attended than what attended this one. I almost feel like I would be willing to issue a personal guarantee that would be true. It's just so I don't know. I feel like it's so glaringly obvious that running something like this in the middle of a week is just. There's a reason why.
Nobody else.
As far as either of us know, because I don't know of any instance either of having. I mean, you played a lot, but I played also a lot of big Magic events as well, and I've never even seen one. Like, ignore one that I played in. I've literally never seen any major event for any TCG like this. I've never even heard of one being played midweek. It's a very weird thing to do, pretty much. Very weird decision. That clearly was done because to tag it on to packs. Like, that was clearly the thinking behind it, and I'm sure there was like reasons for it or whatever. But I think, or at least I hope that you would like to hope that that there was just a bit of a, I don't know, like an oversight or a miscalculation, or I don't know what you want to call it, whatever word you want to call it, that the belief, the internal belief when making that decision to do it midweek, that they underestimated, for whatever reason, that the overall impact that it was going to have on everybody as a whole, basically, right? Like, because if that was done knowing full well that around 50 people were going to attend instead of 100, that's a very weird decision to make, in my opinion. So I just think that, I hope that we get another one, and I hope that it's on a weekend, pretty much. Right, is there anything else to add there?
No, I don't think so. I think it's time to jump into the, it's only what, 35 minutes into the video or something?
I'm definitely going to...
time to actually talk about what we came here to talk about?
I'm definitely going to add a bit of text on the screen and a little, jump to this...
timestamp.
I'm going to timestamp it to skip all this. To get to this point, which is where we're talking about Sorcery Contested Realm card updates 2025. We're actually going halfway down the announcement to start with the easier stuff to discuss first. Which is, are we going to... don't even know if we talk about... Well, there's a Vampire Bat. We're not going to do a full review on the card, but it's on the screen, so just for the benefit of somebody who's listening, I'll just describe what the card does, but we're not going to analyze it inside out. So it's Vampire Bats. It costs 2 mana. It has 2 air threshold in the cost. Has 2 power. It's ordinary beasts. It's airborne, and Vampire Bats strike damage against units heals you. So this flows straight into the rules change, which is a striking change. The other major update involves how certain cards interact with science. These changes likely won't come as a surprise to anyone who's been playing over the past few months. Okay. Being able to strike science is intuitive and allows for much clearer templating going forwards. However, a handful of early cards were printed before this standard fully took root, leading to minor inconsistencies in how they functioned. To match their original design intent, the following cards now have additional text that specifies that these only work against units. And the cards are Dapperall Vampire, Blood Ravens, Sir Galahad, Grim Gisam, Mask of Mayhem, and Lance. Looking ahead, updates in... let's ignore the looking ahead for now. We'll do the looking ahead at the end. So, let's just talk...
So I think the cleanest card to talk about is Lance, right? And it makes sense. Lance is going back to where they were just intended to work. That's... they work exactly how they used to work, effectively. And it's a good change, because it was clearly... they didn't want them to work the way they were currently. So, I don't know. Not... don't mind about that change at all. I actually think all the cards on I agree with this rules change, effectively, is what I'm trying to say. But it's probably could have come in a more timely manner, I think, because they clearly had enough time to print this card, get this card made and printed for the new set with this wording that they knew that they wanted to go to. So it feels like they probably could have done this as part of the last rule change.
Well, that's where my mind, like that's where my thought space is at. So that's
like, because I'm glad it happened, right? Like it had to happen, but I don't know if it needed to.
Well,
wait this long.
Yeah. We'll go through what actually happened, right? The rules changed. We're like, well, this is broken. And it's not like we were the only ones who realized it. It was basically obvious to everyone immediately, right? And all of a sudden, almost every single constructed deck that existed was playing these cards. These ones being Vampire, Galahad, Gisam, and Mask of Mayhem, right? They were just everywhere.
Yep.
And it was like made the game way less fun. They were clearly like overpowered, and then you go through this period where, well, we're preparing for this tournament in Melbourne, and every deck we built contained these cards. Every deck we play tested against contained these cards. Is that true? Is there any exception? I don't think so. And they sort of just...
So maybe pure control Archmago, but definitely every deck that tested against... That deck tested against decks that had these things. It's mainly Axe as well. So even for the decks that weren't running it, it was super impactful and completely changed the way they had to be played and be built.
And it definitely made the game way less fun. And I don't know. And I feel like ultimately the negative ramifications of this rules change combined with all of these cards that clearly weren't designed to interact with this rules change was... It was kind of obvious, to be honest. Like, it was obvious to us. It was obvious to a lot of other people. It should have been obvious to everybody. And then you proceed...
I think they knew that it was going to be like this, but I think they wanted to try and wait and see, just to see how impactful it was going to be, so that they potentially didn't have to do erratas. Would be my... That's basically...
Well, that's what happened, right? Obviously, yes. And then you go through this, and then that happens, and now it's errated, and now you've basically... so you read this, and it's just like, we made a rules change. These things are too good because of the rules change. We're going to change them so that they work according to their original design intent. Right? That's basically what... And you've gone through this whole... Like, alright, let me present another reality. They announced the rules change. This text we're reading now comes with the rules change, and it says, this rules change means that these cards are now going to be different to what the original design intent for these cards was, so we're going to errata them to say this. If all of that was in the original announcement... Nobody's questioning anything. Like, the cards were not errated. They weren't changed. They're basically, like, they're functionally identical to what they were all along. No change at any point, right? So nobody's going to question anything. It looks like they're on the ball, as in Eric's Curioso, on the ball. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not like, let's just do changes, see what happens, and sort of be dynamic. It's more like, we know what's going to happen as a result of these changes. Let's... let's address it before any problem happens, and let's just not upset anybody or whatever, because nobody would have disagreed with anything about this rules change. Originally, the concerns with the rules change wasn't anything to do with the rules by anybody. It was to do with these cards on this list, right?
Yeah.
I've not heard a single person say that the rules change... Like, it was universally accepted, basically, by everybody that it was good to clean up the rules. The concern was always with this list of cards. And it could have just been, rules changed, make it clean, everybody agrees, makes sense, these cards now have minor errata so that they work the same as what they've always worked, full stop. And instead you have this super weird window in the game where it's just a whole bunch of cards are broken, it warps and distorts everything. I don't know if everybody found it less enjoyable during that period, but we certainly did. And now you've gone and changed cards So you now effectively the cards changed, right? They are functionally different, not functionally different to what they originally were, but functionally different to what they currently were. If you know what I mean, like the vampire was one of the best cards in the game, and now it isn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't before. It was like borderline playable before the rules changed. Then it became one of the best minions in the game, and now it's effectively never going to see play again, I'm pretty sure, because Gothic will be out by the time there's another event, and it's not going to see play once Gothic comes out. Like, the power creep in Gothic, from what, even just a few things we've seen revealed so far, makes me feel like this card is never going to see play again.
Probably not. It is undead, though. But the bigger ones are things like Grim Gassam and Mask of Mayhem, right? They went from basically unplayable
they had dead cards.
to... Well, they went from dead to a couple of the best cards in the game to dead. And it's... You potentially have people that traded for these, bought the... Like, obviously, this is always true with everything, right? Like, you can... Like, sets will come out, cards will get better or worse, there'll be power creep, or certain cards will get better, and so on and so forth. Like, that's naturally going to happen. But this didn't have to happen. Like, there was so much grief that was caused because of the rules change and not doing this to begin with, and then doing this afterwards, both in terms of the intervening period between the initial rules change and now, and also about after now. What about that person who, you know, just bought 2 Mask of Mayhems and 2 Grim Gassams off somebody for, you know, $20 or $30 or something because they couldn't possibly get them anywhere because they were impossible to get, and now they're, you know,
didn't Mask go up by like Axe go up by like 2,000%,
something like that. Yeah, I don't know like what they're going, but in Australia they're very difficult to get. Like, so, you know, you couldn't they were just really difficult to get, which means that somebody easily could have paid, you know, $20 Australian or more for a playset of each of those 2 cards. Like, that's easily something that somebody could have done. And yeah, whatever, like, stuff like that happens. Of course, just because you spend some money on some cards, it doesn't mean they'll always be worth that much. But it just feels very like to go from effectively, you know, worth whatever cents each to many dollars each, and then back to cents each, and it's not that there's an issue with it's not a monetary thing. It's just that person was griefed. That there are people that have been griefed that didn't need to be.
The biggest problem with this change is it's going to give a lot of people like a MTG feel of like just bad feels from that, because like a lot of people over the last, like, you know, 6 months or so have been fleeing from Magic because of all the ridiculously bad things they've been doing to Sorcery. And if this is, you know, say they just like came over very recently and this is like their first experience with like something like this from Sorcery, they're just going to be like, oh, it's just Magic all over again, and then just straight out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes stuff is necessary, but this is not. This is not necessary. This could have just been so clean. So my grievance isn't really that they change the rules or that they change the cards. Like, I don't know if this is already 100%.
Both of those things are good.
They're just really good. They just needed to happen together at the same time, and then it's just like it's a win-win-win-win. Nobody's sad, everybody's happy. Like, and instead we got this other version where like a lot of people would have been griefed in all sorts of ways, and it was all just completely unnecessary. This could have been so clean. And like really, not clean. It's not even just clean. It's that it's like it gives the perception that you know exactly what you're doing. Right? We did this. Yep. We changed the rules. We're perfectly aware that it's gonna have these consequences, and we're on top of it. Don't worry, everybody. Like, we know exactly what we're doing. Right? Whereas instead, it kind of feels like, did this. Okay, now this is a problem. Change this. Like, it feels very like you're not fully in control of things to me. And it's not. You could have been. It could have easily been. And I don't know. Just if it wasn't so obvious, I wouldn't have the same line of thought. But you could go back to when the rules change happened. It wasn't just us. Everybody who was reviewing the rules changes it was obvious to everybody that this list of cards was just too good with the rules change. It meant that a lot of the stuff got better, including Druid.
Yep. I I think it's probably a good time to segue to Druid.
Yeah, that's what I was doing on purpose.
Yeah, I figured. So, I don't think this change needed to happen at all.
So let's get to the Druid change. Now, I will preface, let's just go on that a little bit. So the changes to the rules and these cards getting better in particular, they benefited multiple avatars, including Druid. So the rules changes combined with all these cards being overpowered helped Druid. So that's just something that's worth noting, that Druid got a power spike from these cards being too good. Let's go to the Druid changes.
Yeah.
I'll read the text, I guess, because maybe there's some reasoning as to why. With Gothic ushering in new cards and ways to play, it's the perfect time to tend the garden a little, trimming back a few overgrown branches and letting some restless wings finally come to rest. Some of these adjustments simply formalise how players have already been playing for months. I'm curious to know what that is.
Yeah, no idea what that is.
Alright. Well, we haven't read it all yet. I have no idea what they're even talking about there. While others, maybe some, as in, yeah, there's a few people in the world that were playing. Maybe, I don't know. Some could be any amount, I guess. So, but if you're talking some as in any volume of players, I have no idea what.
Maybe they've been testing under these rules, and they're the players that have been playing with it like that for months.
Well,
because they knew the change was coming.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who these people are, but just because I don't know them doesn't mean they don't exist. While others smooth out interactions that drifted a little from their original intent as the realm evolved. In the past, smaller adjustments were handled informally through treat cards as, in the notes on the Curioso FAQ, guidance meant primarily for more competitive-minded players, not those battling it out on the kitchen table. With these changes, we're moving beyond that approach. The following updates are now official card updates, aimed at improving the sorcery experience across all types of play. You'll find them. So, I mean, there's a thing here between the lines, which is basically, well, at least how I'm reading this, and tell me if I'm wrong in your opinion, but they're basically saying there's some updates here, but the bigger message that I think is good for us at least, which is that in the past we've tried to split the community into two groups of kitchen table players and competitive players, and have sort of like and now we're not splitting, not the community, but split the rules, split the way that the cards work, split stuff out between different groups. And now we're saying we're no longer going to do that. We're going to now have we're going to have an official way that cards work, and not sort of two separate ways that cards potentially work, depending on whether people are playing casual or competitive. Do you read it that way?
That is one way to take it, but that's not the way I read it at all. What I read from this is much more doomer, and that is we know we have issues with balancing cards. We are now going to start doing edits. What are they called?
Errata
lists. Mm-hmm. That's what I read from this. Potentially going forward, we're just going to do errata lists.
Yep, but that's
what I think.
Sure. But that's... And
personally, I'm
not sure we said different things there.
I don't...
Yeah.
Well, we definitely did. You said, like, the way I heard what you were trying to say was what they're currently doing is it's very wishy-washy, I suppose, like, where they have two sort of, like, if you're casual, do whatever you want. We're just going to make cards, like, how we want to make them. But now they're like going to have one sort of official thing that they try and that's what they're going to bounce around and make sure everybody tries to do. That's what I thought you were trying to say.
All I was saying is if a card works in a specific way, it works in that way for everybody, whether they're playing casually or competitively. And if you errata the card, then clearly it's going to work the way that it was errata to, not any other way.
Yeah, so that's not really what I was trying to say. I suppose I was trying to be too polite, I guess.
Yeah, you're just saying that you don't like that they're errataing stuff.
No, what I'm trying to say is they have clearly made a lot of mistakes in the past with how they test cards and release them in states that are clearly, not good. Look at Grapple. And they're just gonna release them in these states going forward, and then just change them based on like community testing, effectively, and then just like release a set in a broken state, and then a month or two in, just do a bunch of erratas to fix things. That's what I see with this post.
Yeah, okay, I don't. Yeah,
which is a very doomer take, but that's
I don't see
how
that
it feels.
at all. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I'm sure they'll try their best,
yeah.
But clearly, with the last two sets, they've proven that their best might not be adequate.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't think any cards from the new set will be errata within the first couple of months at all. Like, I don't. I think there's. I mean, we'll see. I think it'll be done sparingly.
So maybe not in the first couple of months, but so with the Druid change in particular, which we'll get to, and maybe it's better to save this point for later, but which I will. But there's definitely a card in the new set which feels very Druidy, and feels like it's going to get. If they're changing Druid like this, they're going to change that card. So, we'll get there when we get there. Let's keep going, I guess.
Yeah. So, but I mean, personally, I would just like to know, ignoring all the doom and gloom and whatever, I personally perceive it as a good thing that you know how each card works, and that there's no like ambiguity that if we're going to a tournament, let's say Melbourne, which rules are going to apply to this card when we get there, and we don't know in advance, and we're back and forth, and it's like, well, if this card's going to work how this section of the community plays it, then we can play this deck, but if it's going to work how this other section of the community uses it, then we can't play this deck, and then we have to bring a backup deck, but the backup deck has that same problem but with a different card, so then we need a backup deck for the backup deck, and then we're going to need a backup deck for the backup deck for the backup deck for the backup deck, and as ridiculous as that sounds, that's exactly what happened for Melbourne that we just went to, that we each lobbed up with 4 decks, just in case there was random different things, if swap was banned, or if swap was restricted to 1, or if divine healing was errata to be unique, or this or that. Like, there was all this stuff that was up in the air that may or may not happen. I would way rather just, this is how the cards work, these are the rules.
I don't think this update changes that at all.
Well, we'll see. Yep.
But I mean, it might for a few specific cards in like exactly which way they want them to work. But I think because in the post they made today about judging, they literally it's in there that the golden rule is still the most important thing to basically judging and how to work out how to play the game. So I don't even think they're going to clarify a lot of these cards that have like 4 different ways you can read them. Like and they'll tell you exactly how they work. I think they're still just going to wait for. Because they still haven't done it for Wrath of the Sea, right? Like, still nobody actually has like a. Oh, they actually do the finally.
It is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's official. Yeah, that was a while ago now.
Yeah, okay.
A while as in not as long as you'd think. It did take 2 years or something, but
exactly.
Something. It took ages, but it is now official that it works the only way that it can possibly work for it to ever be playable, basically, which is the best possible way. So I guess we'll just finish off the text here. So we want to be clear: card updates in Sorcery are rare. We approach them with care, and I believe that to be true. We'll see what happens.
Well, it's clearly true. Like, it very rarely happens, right?
Yeah. So I don't think...
I can only really think of Infiltrate as the other card that's been changed like that, right? Is there anything else that actually does something different to what the card says?
It's just Infiltrate, and I guess one more card now. So it is. That's very rare. I mean, just 2. I mean, I think. And at the end of the day, it's like not everything's going to be picked up in
Awakened
testing.
Mummies is different now as well, I think.
That's just that's because it wouldn't work at all with the rules changes.
Yes, exactly.
It wouldn't do anything. So,
but that is another card.
However much testing you do, it's never going to technically be enough. But there is stuff that it's more to me like. There's stuff that's glaringly obvious and we know it's glaringly obvious because the day the set comes out, we just read over the cards and we're like, well, that's too good. Like Archmago, Ring of Morrigan, they were the 2, right? And Ring of Morrigan basically proceeded to be in every single constructed deck that ever existed for the whole period, pretty much.
And Archmago caused so many problems in the community that people were like, ban it, change a bunch of cards in it.
I mean, from the day that Avatar was released, we basically didn't do anything in constructed for ages, other than build Archimego decks, like because it was so obvious to us that it was too good, and somehow it just straight away, like we're trying it. Like, we're looking at the decks that everyone's building. We're like, Sisters of Avalon, that should not be in there. This shouldn't be in there. Merlin shouldn't be in there. Like, all this stuff that was being played, it all shouldn't be in there. It should be this other way. It's obvious. And I guess the issue is that whatever was obvious to us, it just didn't happen at any point during testing. Like, and the avatar just got through like that. And in a way, it's... I don't know. It's a bit of a shame. Like, and Ring of Morrigan is the other one that it was just too good, and obviously so as well. So, Anyway, I don't know. An impact like there's a sort of. They're really obvious though, but Grapple Shot's pretty obvious. Like, that's a little bit different in a way, just because that was in alpha, right? So.
Yeah, so they were still learning a lot.
There was a lot
and
more...
the game was still changing a lot from Kickstarter to Alpha as well.
I think anything that's a bit off in Alpha is way more... I don't know if forgiving is the term, not that anybody needs to be forgived here, but it's just... There's just way more scope when nobody's really ever even played the game before for stuff to slip through the net for being
yeah, and there's clearly no competitive scene and things like that, so nothing's getting like pushed to the limits. I think it's much more forgivable for that to happen at the very start of a game.
There's a lot of stuff that was just like adding like five or six extra like S and A tier charge minions all in fire, all in the same mini set. Yeah. It was really weird as well. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was just super weird, but ultimately it's more just about the stuff that's glaringly obvious. And Archimego was just glaringly obvious that it was too good, pretty much. Very interesting how stuff is dealt with going forwards, because you can already get like there's a window into that now, I guess we can say, because this is one solution, which is changing how card works, and Druid has been changed. Let's just describe the change. When I was reading this myself, I'll read the announcement because I've read this, and then I'll read what I was thinking as I was reading it. I was like, okay, so it says the Druid. It's no small thing to update an avatar. And I'm like, what? They're changing an avatar? Wow. Okay, straight away I was like...
And it's not Archimego?
Well, Archimego's already basically dead because of all that stuff. Yeah,
he's dead. They don't need to double tap him. But...
He got the death knell in a completely different way. But I guess this one they realised they couldn't death knell him. So with card changes, they had to do it by changing the actual avatar. So...
I think he's getting power crept out in the next set anyway, but we'll see. Definitely now.
So it's no small thing to update an avatar. I could not believe that they were errataing an avatar, especially of all of the ones that you could have errated. Druid isn't exactly the most egregious, either. There's other ones that have consistently just been better and had higher win rates through, like Avatar of Air, for example. But, let's continue. They're central to the realm. Anchors of identity that shape the very stories we tell. Typically, we prefer to meet power with counterplay. That's a bit of a sticking point we'll get to. I'm all for the idea of counterplay, but I'm not all for the idea of play a card your opponent's not allowed to... for a counterplay, that means that certain cards are not allowed to be played anymore. I don't like that type of counterplay. But I'm definitely like the concept of counterplay. Designing new cards to challenge strong archetypes rather than changing them directly. With Gothic expanding the realm, we've already introduced tools to counter powerful strategies, such as the Archimego Cemetery recursion. The Druid, however, proved a unique challenge. Its versatility meant that targeted countermeasures risked harming other decks instead. I'm sorry, but the idea that whatever you've done to counter Archimego's powerful cemetery recursion does not impact other avatars as well is... I'm sorry, at 100... you can't tell me that all of this stuff...
That makes no sense.
Yeah,
That's like, do you not realize the Death Speaker is also a cemetery-based deck? What? Do you realize Flamecaller just got completely unplayable? Like, there's what are you talking about?
Flame Cooler is completely dead. Death, like Archimago is quite possibly still playable, and in the meantime, you've deleted Flame Cooler from the game entirely, and I don't know, maybe Death Speaker is still technically playable, maybe not. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Flame Cooler is dead forever, or at least
because you need such a high number of units.
The Druid, however, proved a unique challenge. Its versatility meant that any targeted countermeasures risked harming other decks instead, and so, rather than uproot the forest, we're trimming a few branches. The Tawny loop has been clipped. While infinite Tawny sacrifices are certainly a hoot, it isn't exactly part of the natural order. Okay, so straight away, I'm like, in the spirit of the original design intent of the Druid, the infinite Tawny loop was intended. It was intended by design that Tawny would respawn after it died.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't. That was not an oversight or isn't exactly being part of the natural order. It was exactly the You can't tell me that it was an accident that it wasn't intended.
That doesn't say that that's not what they intended. They're just using flavor. That whole sentence is just flavor. It doesn't even need to be there at all.
The front side of the Druid is being updated to read: if this is your first turn, summon Tawny here. You'll still gain your Tawny early, but now you will need to choose the perfect moment to send it soaring for that key lava flow or snowball. So,
this thing is never staying alive until lava flow or snowball. Because you're forcing it to spawn on turn one. Maybe if you gave it the ability of you choose when you play it, you choose when you get your Tawny, then maybe it gives it some playability, but oh man, poor Druid.
So I got to this point and I'm like, oh my god, Druid is dead. It's unplayable.
So I think it's unplayable, but I think everybody's being a little bit too far with how unplayable it is. I think it just has to warp into a whole new deck that, doesn't care about Tawny and it's more about your Thorns. But then even they got gutted, so it's pretty harsh.
I mean, okay, I'll reframe that a bit. I got to this point and I was like, we're never playing Druid again.
I mean, we never wanted to play Druid in the first place, so we're probably not the type of
exactly. I mean, to be clear here, I'm not... whatever. I don't care on a personal level that Druid is nerfed. I know a lot of people really love the avatar. It's really popular, so it's...
So I think this is probably the point of the article where I bring in the new avatar called Necromancer, who actually does spawn, infinite 1 power units. Are they just going to change that straight away as soon as the set comes out because it's going to be too strong and they don't want people having a bunch of 1 power, apparently having Tawny in play is too powerful. How is not having a million 1 power units in play, how's that going to interact with, your infinite Tawny sacrifices? That's that doesn't bode well for the Necromancer.
So I don't, I mean, maybe. I don't think they'll errata it, so to only...
No, but you can't be sure they won't. And thematically, it's an issue, right? Now you don't know if you actually want to go all in on getting everything you need for a Necromancer deck. When if Druid's already taken the hammer, and it's has a similar flips front side, it's well, you're never really going to be sure about it. That's not somewhere where you want to be.
Maybe. I don't know. You could construct that argument for everything. I honestly think that the main reason why this has happened is because it was too good against the Gothic avatars, and they want Druid is extremely good countermeasure to the Necromancer. You just flip and they can't do anything. So, So I got to this point, I was like, we're never... this is a massive nerf. This is quite a bit much. I think if it could have probably been... It just was errata to something like the text when Tawny spawns if it's not in play. Instead it said if it's not in play, if it wasn't in play at the start of your turn. So you couldn't kill it and respawn it all in the same turn.
Yep, there's plenty of ways to do it.
That probably would have been enough of a nerf to have taken it down to just not be like, down to A tier or whatever instead of S tier. Or I don't even know if it's S tier now anyway. It was only S tier because of those other cards that have been changed because of the rules changes. If it wasn't for that, we didn't even think Druid was that good before the rules update.
No, we always preferred Sorcerer in general.
So, but the rules update basically meant with the Grimgissum and all those other cards being way too good, the game just sped up way too much. And then a lot of stuff like Sorcerer and Archimego and stuff were just, that value. Extra speed hurt them. And it helped. It just Druid just sort of came out in a better spot because of the rules changes. So, and those cards in particular. Not necessarily that any given Druid deck would even play those cards, by the way. Many of them did. But just the way that they existed in the meta.
Yep.
So basically, erratering those other cards that we talked about down here back to their original design intent already was a big nerf to Druid. But anyway, so I got to that point, I'm like, man, that's quite oppressive and that's a massive nerf and whatever. And then I'm like, what? There's more. I just kept reading it. It's like, what? That's not enough. Like, how is it? How is there, like, how is that not enough all by itself? But nope, it's not apparently. So
yeah, but just before we move on, I still have more to say about the first thing.
Okay.
So the way you were saying, like, you thought I wasn't quite as doomer on this Tawny thing as you were when you first read it. Because when I first read it, I just thought like that's really bad for Druid, sure, but you just basically have to warp the way you play Druid decks now. Like every Druid deck that exists currently, gone, but you still have potential of like. Now you're just playing for the flip side, where like the Thorns matters, but maybe you want power around getting a super early 4-power unit down, something like that. Like there's different ways you can build it, but it's still not dead, basically. And that now I think we can just talk about the other side. But that was my first reaction when I read it.
So the rest of it is Thorns stay close to home. Previously, the Druid's Thorny Aura could lock opposing avatars in place, which was an important thing that it was able to do in order, that was important, that ability. Turning tense jewels into tangled stalemates. They're not... Ugh. So, when you lock them in place like that, normally it actually created a clock for the game to end, and not a stalemate.
Yes, it literally is the opposite of what this statement says.
A total opposite. So this is just... I don't know if it's a total misunderstanding of what was going on or just theme text that's out of place. But once they were locked in place like that, like the clock it's just a clock that the game is ticking down to an end. If they can continue to, like, without locking them in place, it's either going to make the game drag longer or do nothing. But there's no way that locking them in place is creating a stalemate. Right, so no, now those Thorns only grow on allied sites, with the back side of the Druid updated to read, nearby allied sites have, whenever an enemy enters here, it takes 1 damage. You can still defend your territory and drag intruders through your own bramble patch, but the realm breathes easier when the vines stay rooted where they belong. Again, clearly the wording of this makes it sound like the original design intent wasn't supposed to be on both sides, but it clearly was. And for those facing off against the Druid, you can now find passage through the Thorns by silencing those sites.
So because it's giving the ability. It's basically what that's saying, giving the ability to the site. So if you silence a site through smokestacks or the new air site, the Fixus, then it won't proc the Druid Thorns.
Yeah. Okay. So. This is just another massive nerf. It makes it way worse against Archimego because you can't get up on their side of the board, stop them from spawning infinite tokens, like stop them from being able to move, being near them, like having that aggressive sort of stance that you're doing those things whilst you're flipped, and they can't it has other benefits for Craterize and Major Explosion and stuff that you're up on their side of the board, but that super aggressive stance is now way less rewarding
I think a big problem with this as well is it makes it so that small units can now block. That's like the biggest problem, I think, for this change.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's so much.
So it's going to make games so much longer and lose so much impact from the flip. The double tap is what really kills this, because now you don't even really want to build around the flip either. Whereas before, if just the tawny thing happened, you flip early and you build a deck that relies off of that, you know. But now it's just like you don't even want to build around it because it's just so gutted that it just doesn't really do enough. I don't think you need to do both changes. I think like if that's if it was a problem, you could easily just change it so the flip side's like this, and then Druid gets pigeonholed into this really unique spot that no other avatar has of being two spellcasters effectively. So you can get different angles, and Tawny is just always like kicking around, having a second spellcaster for the angles. Whereas now they've just like removed that as ever being a possibility, while also removing what potentially they were just trying to change. Feels like way too. I also have a feeling that this Avatar was just going to get power crept out anyway from S tier, pushing down to A, maybe even B anyway in the next set. Because there's 14 new avatars. You're telling me they're not going to slip up and make a new Archmago at some point, like out of 14? It's either 12 or 14, I can't remember, but it's a lot, right? Like Arthurian Legends had 4, and 2 of them were S tier. Like, you're saying that's not going to happen again when there's 14? I don't know. I think they probably should have just waited and seen if the Druid was even still going to be good, as opposed to just pushing forward an errata when they've only done it like basically once before.
Yeah, and even that was like nothing compared to that other errata.
Yeah. That was more of a we messed up on how we wanted the card. Like, we worded the card wrong. It's not doing what we wanted it to do. This is we think this is too good, we're just going to get rid of it sort of thing. Whereas there's a good chance it would have just happened naturally. And you could have done this at the start of Gothic if it was causing a problem. As opposed to just kick up a massive amount of stink right before you're meant to be... Because this is the cycle where you should be generating hype for your new set. Not making everybody feel bad about, you know... Oh, what's the post going to be today that's, you know, destroying the game?
Well,
Not to say that it will, but that's sort of
game,
like the feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think because we're in a weird spot, I guess, as a whole, because I don't personally care in any personal way that Druid has been nerfed this way, right? Like, I don't... About the card on a personal level. Like, I don't care at all.
Yep.
But other people... Many other people, it's their favorite avatar.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They are not going to have the, like... Because the other thing I was thinking when I read this, I was going back through, I was just thinking somewhere there's some kid who's just been getting into Sorcery and he's been playing in events every week, and he finally got enough dust and he ordered his foil Druid from the dust store and it arrived yesterday, and then the next day this announcement came out. Kind of thing. Like... Somewhere there's that.
Or even, hasn't even got there yet, so he hasn't even got to play it.
Didn't even get to use it for one day.
And he throws it in the bin.
Like and somewhere there's that person, right, that's like getting into the game, super pumped, it's their favorite avatar, like they just...
I've already seen that post, by the way.
They've just got the foil. I didn't even see the post, so... But it's like somewhere, like 100% that person exists, and maybe there's multiples of that person. And like, that's... Like, I don't know. I think one thing with stuff like this, like, I don't know exactly what the balancing change would be, but could randomly come up with stuff. I'm not sure it would be balanced, to be honest. But it's like, if you do stuff like this, I'm not saying for us, right? But for that kid, right, that just got his foil Druid, it would not be anywhere near as much as just this like massive like gut punch, which is basically right. Like, if part of these changes involve Druid getting better somehow, if you know what I mean. Like, it's things, it's worse in these ways, but it's better in this way. Like, for example, I don't know if this will be balanced at all, but it's just like, if you played a site and Tawny isn't in play, then you flip and get the Bruin. So it's like you don't have to sacrifice the land drop, the site drop, right? To get, it's not a tap to flip; it's a tap.
Yep.
You like, and then it would get this boost where it doesn't have to give up. Like,
I mean, you could even literally tag it to this change of Tawny, where you get Tawny on your turn 1, and then if Tawny dies, then you get the flip, right? Just to power out the flip. And all of a sudden, Druid's still playable. It's, it's probably pretty strong, but not like the oppressive thing that's going on here. I don't know. It's just what they've done. If they've just removed Druid from the game.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So I think it's I don't know if it's. I mean, technically, every avatar's always playable, right? Technically, but it's unplayable from like a competitive
standpoint.
Yeah, and very interesting that it's done. And just like I said, I think if there was this, there could have been like if there was some other way that it just maybe it still wasn't sort of like really competitive, but just for the people that this was their favorite avatar, if part of these changes just involved it getting better somehow. So like you nerf out the things that you're not happy with because it's too good in the new set, like the infinite recursion of the Tawny and being able to flip and kill everybody's tokens. Those things were too good, but allowing them this other benefit, it doesn't hurt with all these other things, right? Like,
and I mean, infinite recursion is a bit of I don't know about that.
Well, it's not like you still got to tap, play a site, so it's not exactly
right. It comes at a cost, right? Yeah. Like, if say you had a thing where you set up your Tawny to die every turn, that means you're drawing a site every turn, so that you can keep getting your Tawny back. That's a pretty big cost.
I mean, my gut feel is going back to the start of this is that if there was no Thorn, like no flip nerf at all, and if all the change to Tawny was just that it only spawned if it didn't start your turn in play. So you couldn't sort of like, kill it on your turn and get it back and then
always have
and get it back on the same turn. What's that, sorry?
So it stops to always having 20 priority.
Yeah. And that probably would have been enough to like bump it out of one of the best few avatars in the game. And as long as that's true straight away, it's way more out of the meta. It's played way less, right? Like, it's just. But anyways, it's done. So it's done, and Druid is dead. It's gone. And I'm not.
Everybody's saying it's the worst avatar in the game. I don't know if that's true. It's probably still better than Avatar Fire, but I don't know. It's down there with it. That's for sure.
It's out of the meta. It's dead. I'm pretty sure. Like, it's just.
Yeah, it's gone. Like, there's no two ways around it. It's never seeing competitive competitive play again, right? So, like in a true competitive deck, like it's gone.
My favorite thing about Druid was that lots of other people played it, and that meant that Maddening Bells became unplayable in the meta because Tawny was so good at working around it, because it would always be on the board. If you could get it killed, you could tap and play a site. You could always get the Tawny out of the Bells, and because of that, it meant that Maddening Bells stopped being played, and that was one of the cards that I really hated being in the meta the most, because it really was like...
You just made me really sad. I hadn't really thought about Bells coming back.
So Bells is just back, I'm pretty sure, and I really didn't enjoy
Unless one of the new avatars is like really good against it, potentially that keeps it out. But...
One, it has to be good against it, but two, people have to play it a lot, right?
That's what I mean,
it
right?
needs to be prevalent in the meta, because Druid was so prevalent that like literally like a third or something of all games played by everybody was with Druid, and you just couldn't really have two Bells that were dead cards against a third of all the games you ever played, pretty much, right? Like, especially when Druid or Tawny might be the better framing. Tawny single-handedly removed Maddening Bells from the meta, and I will be forever grateful to Tawny for that. And it's a shame that Tawny is now dead, along with Druid. So, and I really hope that...
Where's the errata to Bells alongside this post?
Yep, don't know. It's not anywhere. So, we'll see. But the main thing is that really all this sort of stuff has cause and effect, sort of knock-on impacts. So just completely killing Druid out of the meta, like just stomping it. Like this is just a stomp. I don't know what's happened. Like poor Druid. I don't know what to say. Like this is just. I mean, this reminds me of Marvel Snap, where they just release cards and you have to basically buy them for real money, and they're like every time they release a new card, it's the best card in the game, and it's really expensive, and you got to buy it, and then later on they offer it to everyone for free, but then they do a massive change to the card to make it way worse, and it feels like this is exactly like what happens in Marvel Snap with every new card that gets released, right? Like this is the Druid, it's the best card or whatever, and then it's like, oh, now it's going to be accessible to everybody. We better make sure that it's unplayable now.
And this feels more like Thanos Snap than Marvel Snap. Absolutely dusted.
It's just gone, and I don't know what to say, and I do feel bad for the people that this was their favorite avatar. To be like I said, it doesn't hit personally at all. I mean, in a way, I guess it does a little bit because I'm scared of the maddening bells, but I do feel a bit sad for like this is
my even biggest issue with this is the precedent that it sets. Now you just, if there's ever something strong, you just never really feel safe to buy them, right? Like, say something's really good, it's unique, it's really expensive, you're basically going to want to buy it and then sell it straight away after the tournament you need it for. Just in case that it gets hit down the line, and ends up being worth nothing. So I feel for collectors who want to try and get a lot of different foil things. Like, they like foiling out their decks or whatever. That's going to be a world that I wouldn't want to live in again. I did that with Magic back in the day. Like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I mean, even just for me, in a way, the bigger, like, the precedent exists, and now it's absolutely going to be the case going forwards that there's just going to be, it's going to be constant pressure, I believe, from somewhere to errata all, like, whatever the current card is that happens to be the one that people hate the most today. There's going to be constant pressure to errata that card, whatever it may be, right? And even if you errata it, nothing will change. All that will happen is all the focus will just be on the next card to errata. So you you can't say that we don't do it because it's done.
You've done it. You've made the ground you had to stand on very shaky ground now. So for me, this feels completely out of the blue as well. Like, I haven't seen anybody saying something needs to happen to Druid. Like, this was just, it was so out of left field that I was like super surprised by it.
Yep.
Like, I would have understood if they caved to the pressure for Archmega, right? That would have made some amount of sense. I wouldn't have been happy, for sure, because it would have been all the same issues with this one. But it would have made sense that they did it. This just doesn't make any sense. Especially when there's a new set that's probably going to make it power crept out anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. And it's not, I'm trying to even think.
It's just not a PR hit they needed to take. Like, It just feels really weird.
Part of one thing you have to consider is, like, just a lot more people play Druid as well, right? So,
yep,
it's inevitably going to end up with.
This feels like a play rate errata, not like a problem errata.
Yeah, I mean, my gut feel is
play rate across all the Crossroads, and it was so high that they're like, oh, maybe we need to do something. That's what it seems like.
Not sure. I'm not sure, but part of that is because people, I think it was less in many, like, I think a lot of people just played it because they really enjoyed, like, it wasn't me personally, but I know, for example, my wife, when she first, like, she wanted to play Druid when she saw it the first time. My wife did. Like, she just saw it and she's like, I really want to play with, like, that avatar looks really cool to me. I really like what it does. I really like being able to get, you know, that it's got these other animals and stuff. Like, I really, like, that really appealed to her, and she really wanted, you know, like, it was just something that she just gravitated to straight away as soon as she saw it.
I always do with Druid in most games as well. It's generally the class I play in most things, you know, and then expand out from there, you know, but it's normally the one I always gravitate towards at the start. So on that aspect, you know, I would have liked Druid in general, but even this Druid didn't really draw me in that much. But yeah, it's just weird. A lot of people have affinity for Druid.
Yeah.
In all games, so it does make sense.
But also that, in a way, I think, I mean, as much as you can in a card game like this, I guess, that the Tawny and the Bruin also sort of had, they kind of did feel a little bit like they were characters as well.
Yeah.
The Tawny in particular, which now it won't, because it'll hang around for all of one turn most games and then never be part of it again. It wasn't necessarily my thing, but I can totally see how it could be your thing, if that makes sense. Like, I could totally see how people would really, like, it genuinely sort of offered like a different way to play a little bit, right? Like, it had its own sort of play style and stuff. Like, I know other avatars do as well, but I'm just saying its play style was quite, it had its own stuff going on, right? Because you always had 20 on board, you had that extra angle. It offered a unique sort of way to play the game that, if you really enjoyed playing the game that way, then that was kind of the only, like, there wasn't any other avatar that was doing something similar whatsoever, right? Pretty much. It was off in its own class, I guess you could say. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, for example, like, I know all the avatars are different, but in a way, it feels like you're playing, like, Archimego and Death Speaker kind of thing feel like a little bit similar, right? In regards to what you're doing. And I would say that, you know, you could make some other, let's say the Battle Mage and Avatar of Earth feel a little bit similar. Different, but a little bit similar in what you're doing, right? So
I suppose Avatar of Air is the other exception, right? To it being sort of like a lonely thing that does its own thing.
Yep, and that's one that somehow, I don't know how exactly, but that has just constantly been one of the best avatars in the game since day one, and it has just constantly slipped through everything.
It would have made way more sense to me if this post was about Avatar of Air, not Druid.
So, yeah. So that's a very... Yep, but
small play rate, right? So,
yeah. Poor Druid, that's all I can say. And
you were too popular.
Yeah, we both got the rainbow foil for Druid, so that feels a bit bad. But maybe no one else will ever win an event with Druid again, so the rainbow foil Druid population in the world, out in the populace, is now fixed to however many it was, maybe.
Probably.
So maybe it feels a bit bad now, but maybe in the long term, from a collecting standpoint, having a rainbow foil Druid in my collection, maybe it'll be a good thing. Don't know. Looking ahead, we'll go down to there, yeah? Updates in Sorcery are about refinement, not reinvent. I would argue that the change to Druid is complete reinvention and not refinement at all. I feel like almost, if you were upset about this announcement, that the flavor text is going to make you more upset, not less upset, pretty much.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were going to be upset about this announcement, it might have been better to just not gone a bit easier on the flavor text for this one and just stated the facts.
Yeah.
Right. So as the realm continues to grow through Gothic and beyond, we'll keep watching for places where gameplay can become clearer, fairer. To say that Druid wasn't fair, that's not... I mean, it was a pretty...
Yeah, it's a super fair avatar.
And truer to its original... Right, so I'm pretty sure that Druid was pretty fair, and it was...
And that was their design.
And it was 100% true to its original design. So all this type of flaff It just, in this type of announcement where someone could be really upset, I just honestly, I think
it really feels like they're just like trying to like look over here like a magic trick, like look over here while they're like, like funneling over somewhere else.
Yeah,
that's what all these things. They're all like, they're very, I don't know, trying to take the shade away from, push it towards more. Oh, it didn't quite work out how we intended, so we're going to change it. Where clearly, it just what you intended was not, like, didn't go where you wanted it to go, I guess.
My gut feel is that the reason for this is that it was believed that Druid would continue to be one of the most popular avatars in the game in post-Gothic, and they just didn't want that to be the case, and that maybe that this was particularly strong against some stuff that, like, whatever, maybe the Necromancer or something else. Maybe it was just strong against stuff that they wanted to be popular, that this was going to lock it out from becoming popular. So my gut feel, now, that may or may not be correct in terms of that's the reason, and it also may or may not be correct in regards to if that was the reason, whether that would have even been true. So, because in that regard, if that was the case, I think you go loop back around to what you said before, Jarrod, which was that this didn't have to happen. This is one that just didn't have to happen now. You could have just released Gothic, Druid was still the most popular avatar in the game, and then just see what happened when the dust settled, and then just done it. Like, the timing for this to have to be exactly now, it isn't there. It could, a change like this is totally independent of, like, if this announcement just said, striking change, this, boom, cool, makes sense, whatever, let's move on. And then you put this in at the same time, and this could just happen at any time. This could have happened in 6 months' time, 3 months' time, between Gothic and the next set, whatever. Like, this literally could have happened at any time. So, and then it's possible that if you believe whatever, you believe that Druid was going to be too good and that this needed to be done, it's totally possible that you were wrong and that the new set releases and that just Druid just isn't that good, and other stuff is just better, and people just play other stuff and Druid just isn't played that much anymore, and it just felt like it could have. There's like I just don't.
That was exactly how I saw it happening, and now I guess we just never get to know.
Yeah,
because you pulled the lever too soon.
And I just don't, because this. So in summary, potentially this change never even needed to happen, and if it did, you still could have just done it after, once you knew that it needed to happen. And I just can't believe, with stuff like Archimago slipping through the testing, and Grapple, and all, like Ring of Morrigan, all of these cards, like, stuff will slip through, and you can't do stuff perfect, and you can't. I would struggle to be convinced that, this, if you're saying that Archimago was never deemed to be that good, and there was nothing to worry about through testing, that the same testing yielded the result that you're saying that this change had to be done before Gothic because it's definitely going to mean these things. There's every chance that, you're just as wrong about this as you were about Archimago not being very good, basically, right?
Yeah, I was definitely thinking that. I wasn't sure if we were going to say it, but I was definitely thinking it.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, though, like, how much testing can you possibly do unless there's, like, a dedicated team doing loads of testing, which there clearly isn't. So a lot of it just has to be, we think this, we test a bit, but if, in anything like this, if you take the number of possibilities that exist in regards to not only the decks that you can build, but as we well know, like, you build a deck and you play it, this deck you won the most recent Crossroads with, that deck, no one else played it at any point, despite you winning and me coming fourth and then me proceeding to come top 4 in the most recent online league with it. Nobody else played it. And the reason is, mostly I think, is because the deck just isn't very good unless you play it correctly. And playing it correctly is completely dependent on the matchup. You play it a completely different way in every match. Or even how the match is unfolding. Like, and with other decks you build, right? Like, you're talking just one deck and putting in many hours into, just one thing. That's just one thing. That's just one deck, right? Like,
yeah.
And the reality is that, for all intents and purposes, infinity decks exist, pretty much, right? Like the amount of possible combinations of cards that could possibly exist, and that's ignoring all the ones that you would never ever conceivably do, right? Just focusing on stuff that you might ever conceivably do. The amount of decks that exist already is going to be pretty. It's a number that's so ridiculously high, it might as well be infinity, because it's so high that you can never test. And then you've also got to consider that it's everything against everything.
Yes, that's a big reason.
And even if you were to do every possible deck and play it against every possible deck, that doesn't mean anything anyway, because in order to properly understand any given matchup, you basically got to play it 100 times at least, realistically, to have a good understanding, right? So,
and to work out all the different lines you can take and which one is the optimal line, all those sort of things as well. Because you could play the matchup 100 times and not work out the best way to play the matchup until game 95. And then all of a sudden you win those last 5 because you played differently. And then if you go back and do another 100 tests, it completely changes the matchup again.
Yep. So it's not, when I say that, of course it can't be tested. Of course you can't know this for sure. That's the thing. It's not possible. All you can have is an educated guess. And if that same educated guess is being made off the back of whatever caused Archimega and Grapple Shot and this stuff to exist, then it's not a strong enough reason to do this, in my opinion, when it didn't have to be done now. You could have just waited. So this could have just waited and not happened at all. And this could have just happened at the time that the rules changed. This announcement shouldn't even exist, I don't think.
Yeah, perfect world, this announcement doesn't exist at all. But even in the current one we're in, it didn't need to exist together. The striking change could have been an article on its own, which would have been probably a pretty well-received one, realistically. The only gripe we have against this is, why did it take so long? When you clearly have been thinking about it for a while, and you've got a card printed in the next step, correctly.
So it's at least many months at this point.
Yeah, because it's not a quick turnaround to do a change like this and have it printed, I would assume. So that's, I don't know about that. But even with how long it took, whatever, the fact that it happened is good for the game. So that's, but literally our only gripe with this change is, why did it take so long? Versus Druid, why are you rushing it? This didn't need to happen. They're two separate things. I don't know. Timing apparently is an issue with this post, I guess.
Yeah, and I think in particular that there will be people really upset about this, and the wording is a bit off tone for that person who would be really upset right now, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Alright, so thanks for watching, and sorry if Druid was your favourite avatar. Sort of feel for you a bit there, and
yeah, that's rough.
We'll catch you for the next video, and I guess we're looking forward to the Gothic release in a week.
About a week.
Yeah. So, alright everybody, keep safe, keep well, keep enjoying Sorcery, and we'll catch you for the next video. Cheers.
Bye everybody.